Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty fundamental, wealth. What if real wealth isn't just about the dollars in your account? What if it's more about the moments you actually live? You know, that mix of having the time and, crucially, the health to experience life.
Exactly. That's our mission in this deep dive, to really get into that critical connection between time, health, and money. We sometimes call it the unholy trinity.
Unholy. Why unholy?
Well, because if you neglect one, it seriously undermines the others. Think about it. And look, this die with zero idea we're exploring, it's not about, spending every last penny recklessly.
Right. It's not about aiming for zero irresponsibly.
Not at all. It's about being intentional. It's a strategy, really, for optimizing your life's experiences, minimizing regrets later on. It's about using your resources, time, health, and money to get the most life dividend.
Life dividends. I like that. So memories, growth, actual joy.
Precisely. Because money on its own, it's inert, it's just potential, it only comes alive, it only has power when you've got the time and health to actually use it. Without those, it's just, numbers on a page.
That's a huge reframe, moving beyond just the balance sheet. So, okay, optimizing life, not being reckless. How do people start thinking this way? You mentioned time first. Our sources call it finite non-renewable, and they talk about time buckets. What are those?
Right, time buckets. Think of them as distinct life stages. Periods where your ability or even your desire to do certain things changes dramatically.
And give me an example.
Okay, backpacking across Europe, say. Doing that rough and tumble trip in your 20s. Totally different experience, maybe even impossible compared to trying it in your 70s.
Okay, yeah.
That specific time bucket for that kind of intense travel, it closes. And this really highlights the urgency of doing certain things earlier, especially the physically demanding stuff. Delaying has a real cost, an opportunity cost. That backpacking example. Yeah, that lands. I definitely know people who said, I'll do that someday, and someday got complicated. So how does health factor into these buckets?
Exactly. That's where the health curve comes in. It maps directly onto those time buckets. See, your health isn't flatlined until old age. It usually peaks, early adulthood.
Right.
And then starts a non-linear decline. It can drop off more steeply, especially after, say, 50. And health. It's arguably your most valuable asset because it directly enables you to enjoy everything else.
So we're not just talking about lifespan, but health span.
Precisely. Your health-adjusted life expectancy, HALE for short, that's the time you can expect to live in reasonably good active health. And here's the kicker. That period is often much shorter than your total lifespan.
Wow.
And experiences you have when you're at peak health, they tend to give you a bigger memory dividend. Plus, neglecting health has hidden costs later, financial, yes, but also just experiences that become impossible. Doors closing early. This completely changes the role of money then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If time and health are the real stars, what's money's job? Just a tool.
That's exactly how this framework sees it. Money isn't the end goal. It's the facilitator. And interestingly, research shows there are diminishing returns on happiness from money past a certain point.
Okay.
Especially if piling up more money means sacrificing your prime time or letting your health slide. So your financial planning shouldn't be static. It needs to be dynamic, shifting as your time and health capacities change.
Makes sense. But, okay, let me push back slightly. What about security? Unexpected illness, needing funds later. How do you balance that very real need with not, hoarding resources you could be using now?
That's a super important question, and it's not about being financially irresponsible or ignoring future needs. It's about intentionality. The research is quite consistent here. Spending on experiences brings more lasting satisfaction than buying stuff.
Right. The new car wears off, but the memory of the trip.
Exactly. Those experiences generate memory dividends. They actually appreciate in value over time in your memory. Unlike most things we buy, the balance comes from recognizing there's also an experiential cost to saving too much, or saving without a specific purpose tied to your life stages.
The cost being the experiences you missed.
The experiences you missed when you had the optimal time and health to actually enjoy them fully. Experiences you can likely never replicate in the same way later.
So when you look at what people regret near the end, it's usually not, I wish I'd made more money.
Very rarely. It's almost always about relationships, risks not taken, working too much, essentially not prioritizing the living part. It's about that experiential deficit, the gap between the life you wanted to live and the one you did. This philosophy helps you tackle that proactively.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, how do they start? How do they begin living richly today in this sense?
Well, a few practical things. Maybe start with a time bucket audit. Ask yourself, What experiences really fit the stage of my life? What can I do now that I might not be able to do later?
Huh.
Then assess your health runway. What physically demanding things matter to you? Maybe prioritize those now. Then, critically, look at your financial goals. Do they actually line up with maximizing your life experiences or just accumulating?
Shifting from just numbers to actual life goals.
Right. And consciously look for those memory dividend opportunities. Practice intentional spending. Maybe shift some funds usually spent on stuff into an experience fund. It doesn't have to be radical overnight change. Small intentional shifts that fit your life.
So ultimately, a truly rich life isn't about dying with the biggest bank account. It's about dying with the fewest regrets and the most memories, right? Having used your time, health, and money wisely.
That's the core idea. Money is still important, absolutely. But it's a tool. True wealth that lives in the memories, the growth, the connections, the joy you get from living intentionally. Don't just save for a future you might not be healthy enough or even around to fully enjoy. Start living richly today.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something many of us just, well, do without much thought. Endlessly saving money for some vague future point someday.
That someday, yeah. It's such a common trap, isn't it? You think, oh, I'll hike the Himalayas someday, or I'll learn to surf someday.
Right. Those big dreams.
Exactly. And they get pushed off. Maybe you think you'll have more time later or more money, but what happens if later comes and, your health isn't there? Or the friends you wanted to go with aren't available?
That's really the crux of it. How do we shift away from just deferring life? So this deep dive is about a philosophy called die with zero.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be clear, it's not about being careless with money. It's more about being strategic, maximizing your life experiences while you can actually enjoy them.
Precisely. Thinking of money as a tool for those experiences, not the ultimate goal itself.
Okay, so how does this counter our usual thinking? I know there's this concept, future discounting.
Ah, yes. Future discounting. It's basically how our brains tend to undervalue future rewards compared to present ones. Like, we'd often take $100 now over maybe $110 in a year.
Even though $110 is more.
Right. We discount the future value. This die with zero idea kind of flips that. It forces you to realize that different life stages have unique and sometimes very limited windows for certain kinds of experiences.
Which brings us to this framework, time buckets. Can you unpack that for us? What exactly are time buckets?
Sure. Think of them less like rigid age ranges and more like fluid life stages, defined by the mix of things you have: your time, your energy levels, your health, maybe family responsibilities, and your financial situation.
So young and free.
Yeah, maybe high energy, lower funds. Then perhaps raising a family where time feels incredibly scarce. Later, empty nesters with more freedom, or active retirement, more time, but maybe different physical abilities.
Okay, so why is recognizing these buckets so critical? What's the real cost of missing the window for something?
Well, the opportunities within those windows are often irreversible. You might live to 90, great. But backpacking across Europe at 75, it's just fundamentally different than doing it in your 20s.
Right, your capacity changes.
Hugely. And your healthy life expectancy, the years you're actually well enough to do demanding things, often ends sooner than your total lifespan. Plus, there's this psychological thing where time just feels like it speeds up as we age.
Yeah, the years fly by faster.
They really do. And that feeling of, what if? What if I'd done that trip? That often stings more than, say, trying something and maybe it not working out perfectly. Oh, and there's the memory dividend.
Memory dividend.
Yeah, it's the idea that experiences you have when you're best suited for them, like that physically demanding trek in your 30s, pay dividends in memories for much, much longer.
Okay, that makes sense. And you mentioned health. It's not just having the time or the money, is it?
Yeah.
There's this interplay with health, too, like health buckets within the time buckets.
Exactly. It's like a triple constraint, really. You need the right combination of time, money, and health, all aligned at the right moment. If you delay something physically demanding, you genuinely risk losing the ability to do it, period.
So that Everest Base Camp trek example? Better aim for an earlier bucket?
Definitely much more feasible for most people in, say, their 30s or 40s than their 70s.
Okay. So this really pushes us away from just abstract saving towards, well, intentional spending. Spending now on experiences, That feels like it goes against the grain for a lot of people.
It absolutely does. We're sort of conditioned to accumulate, 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 but spending on experiences, that's an investment too, an investment in happiness, in memories, in a rich life.
But what about that fear? The fear of running out of money. It's a big one, even for people who earn well.
It's huge and often psychological, not strictly rational. Society pushes this narrative of more is always better. The goal here isn't some arbitrary huge number. It's figuring out what's enough for you to live the life you actually want.
Okay, so how do we actually start overcoming that fear and, take action?
First step is maybe visualizing what you'd regret not doing. What experiences would your future self wish you'd prioritized? Then try to identify your current time bucket and maybe the next one or two you anticipate.
And practically, once you know the buckets.
You brainstorm maybe 3 to 5 key experiences that really fit each bucket. Things that are ideal for that stage, a big adventure trip early on, maybe multi-generational travel later when you have grandkids.
And then allocate money.
Yes, actively.
Yeah.
Maybe set up separate experience fund. And the really crucial part, schedule something. Put a date on the calendar for at least one experience you've been putting off. That commitment fights inertia.
So wrapping this up, the core idea is that time is finite, opportunities expire, and strategically using money for experiences now leads to a richer life overall. It's not about dying broke.
Not at all. It's about dying having lived fully. It really challenges you to think, what does success really mean? Is it just the number in your bank account at the end?
Or is it the richness of the life you lived, the memories you made along the way? Something to really think about.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into something fascinating. Bill Perkins's Die with Zero idea, specifically his regret minimization framework.
Right.
It's quite a different take, isn't it? Not just about piling up money, but actually using it for, a life full of experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Perkins puts it pretty bluntly, doesn't he? No one gets an award for having the most money in their grave.
Yeah, that cuts right to it.
And this framework, well, its main goal is getting that highest score in net fulfillment.
Net fulfillment, okay.
Basically trying to head off those I wish I had feelings before they even happen. So money becomes like a tool, a strategic investment in your future happiness, really.
Yeah.
Used intentionally.
That makes sense. It really highlights how often we fall into that someday trap, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the source we looked at nails it. Someday is not a day on the calendar. It's a trick that we play on ourselves. Think about skiing, right? You might easily do 20 runs when you're 40, but at 60, maybe only 10, if that. The actual enjoyment, the value of it, diminishes.
It does. And that constant deferral, putting things off,
Yeah.
it leads to missed experiences.
Yeah.
You're potentially sacrificing well-being without even realizing it.
So what do people regret then when they look back? Is it mostly money stuff?
That's the really interesting part. You think so, but no. We looked at quite a bit of research, even a big meta-analysis. Financial regrets, they're surprisingly low, like only around 2.46%.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Only 2.5%.
Yeah. What consistently comes up are things like, I wish I hadn't worked so hard, or, I wish I'd taken that trip to Europe when I had the chance.
So the non-financial things?
Exactly. Money's just the means. But often, the fear about money, the fear of running out, that actually causes us to miss out on the things we later regret not doing. Because we oversave, we play it too safe.
So Die with Zero is kind of a regret prevention plan.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, a powerful regret prevention strategy at its core.
Okay, so practically, how does this work? It's about shifting focus.
Completely. Perkins argues life's goal shouldn't just be net worth. It should be maximum net fulfillment.
Right.
And he talks about that tough choice. Time, money, health. Usually you can only optimize for 2 out of 3 at any given time.
Choose wisely then.
You have to. And he brings up this great concept, memory dividends.
Memory dividends. Tell me more.
It's the lasting joy you get from experiences, like investing in a memory that keeps paying out happiness over the years, every time you recall it.
I like that. A mental savings account.
Kinda, yeah. And to make sure you actually have those experiences to beat that someday illusion.
Okay, what are the strategies?
Well, first, be specific. Don't just say travel more, plan it. Go to Italy next fall. Make it concrete.
Makes sense.
Second, get an accountability partner. Seriously, the research shows if you tell someone and have a specific check-in time, your follow-through jumps to like 95%.
95%. Wow.
Huge difference. And third, put on the calendar. Treat your experiences like vital appointments. That calendar is your tool for, well, real wealth.
Scheduling real wealth. I like the sound of that. Now, there was also something about inheritance, giving it early.
Yes, early inheritance. It's a really interesting part of the framework. The idea is, why wait until you're gone? Gift money to your kids or whoever earlier, when they actually need it most. Maybe raising their own kids, starting careers.
Right, when it can make a bigger difference for them.
Exactly. And crucially, you get to see the positive impact. You share in that joy, creating those memory dividends together.
That's a powerful thought. But, okay, what about the obvious concerns? Running out of money, leaving a legacy. Isn't this a bit reckless?
That's the common pushback, for sure. But it's important to get this right. It's not about reckless spending.
Okay.
It's about rightful spending. It requires intentional planning, calculating what you'll likely need. You can even insure against big unknowns, like long-term care costs.
So planning is still key.
Absolutely essential. The message is nuanced. It's save for the future, but also live like there's no tomorrow. Find that balance through careful thought, not just throwing caution to the wind.
Got it. So wrapping this up, Die with Zero is really about optimizing your whole life, isn't it?
Yes. For fulfillment.
Pushing back against that tendency we have to just save, 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 and maybe underlive, focusing instead on collecting those memory dividends.
Precisely. So the question for you listening is, what are your someday illusions? What are you putting off?
Yeah. What experiences, passions, relationships are waiting for someday that might never arrive?
Think about it.
And maybe reflect on that idea. The whispers from the end of life. If you were looking back, what would you truly regret not doing? Let that guide your planning. Maybe success isn't just the bank balance, but that feeling of a life truly lived, full of experiences, and ideally with zero regrets. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a really interesting philosophy, one that kind of flips conventional thinking about money and happiness on its head.
Yeah, it's called Die with Zero. And it's maybe not quite what it sounds like initially.
Right, it's not about being reckless, it's more about optimizing your life so you don't end up with regrets about things you didn't do.
Exactly. It's about strategically using your resources, both time and money, across your whole lifespan to really max out on meaningful experiences.
Aiming for, I think you called it zero regrets by the end?
That's the core idea. It's less a rigid financial plan, more a dynamic life strategy, making sure you feel you've, lived fully.
Okay, so how do we even start thinking like this? I know the philosophy talks about time buckets. What are those exactly?
Well, think of them as different stages in life where certain experiences just fit better or are even possible.
Like, climbing a huge mountain might be a young person's game.
Precisely. That's maybe in your 20s or 30s bucket. Well, later on, maybe it's quieter stuff, more reflection, different kinds of travel.
And the point is that these opportunities are perishable, right?
Totally. That demanding trek, it needs health just as much as money. And that's the tricky part. Your health, well, it tends to peak earlier.
While your money often peaks later, like midlife or beyond.
Right. So you've got this health curve going down eventually and the money curve going up. The goal is to try and align them better.
So you actually have the physical ability and the funds for those big experiences when the time is right.
Yeah. And that means you need to be proactive, doing these regular life audits to adjust your spending and how you use your time.
Okay, that makes sense. But strategic spending usually sounds like cutting back. How does this philosophy view that?
It reframes it. It's not just about spending less. It's about spending strategically to get the best life dividends.
Life dividends.
Yeah, things like great memories, personal growth, stuff that gives you joy long after the money's spent. It introduces this idea of memory dividends.
Ah, like building a portfolio but of memories.
Kind of. And unlike a lot of material things, these memories tend to appreciate over time, right? That backpacking trip becomes a richer story years later.
Way more lasting than, say, the buzz from a new phone.
Definitely. So the question to ask before buying something becomes, is this going to create a lasting memory or real growth for me? It shifts your whole perspective on budgeting.
You start budgeting for experiences as a core part of your plan.
You got it.
Now, this naturally leads to the inheritance question. If you're spending it all, what about leaving something for family?
Well, Die with Zero doesn't necessarily mean leaving nothing. It pushes for a reevaluation towards more intentional, impactful giving, often giving while you're still alive.
Giving while living. I've heard that term.
Yeah. It's about strategically gifting assets or money when you can actually see the impact. Maybe help with education, a house deposit.
Things that could really make a difference when people are younger and need it most.
Exactly. That early capital can unlock way more opportunities than a larger sum received much later in life. It's about leverage.
Plus, you get to share in the joy of it, right? Strengthen those connections.
For sure. Of course, you need to be smart about it. Maybe talk to a financial advisor about taxes like the annual gift exclusion, things like that. Make sure it actually helps.
Okay, this all sounds great on paper, but I imagine it's psychologically tough for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. It's maybe more psychological than financial, honestly. There's this deep-seated fear of depletion.
The fear of running out of money, especially in old age, even if rationally you probably won't.
Yeah. It's often driven more by, societal conditioning, save, than by the actual numbers on your spreadsheet. People sacrifice today's joy for a tomorrow that might not unfold how they expect.
So how do you combat that fear?
Well, practical steps help, like running realistic financial projections, stress testing scenarios. Seeing the numbers can sometimes calm the nerve.
Or maybe using that regret minimization idea.
Right. Ask yourself, what would I regret more? Maybe spending a bit too freely, though, planning helps avoid that. Or dying with a pile of cash I never used for experiences I dreamed of.
It really puts things in perspective.
Ultimately, the zero isn't just about the bank balance. It's about zero regrets.
Yeah.
Optimizing for life satisfaction, not just wealth.
So the final thought for everyone listening is maybe, what experiences are you putting off right now? And what's really holding you back? This isn't a one-time decision. It's more like an ongoing journey.
Absolutely. A journey of figuring out what truly matters and living intentionally. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty fundamental. This idea that getting richer and richer is the main path to happiness.
Right. We're digging into Bill Perkins' die with zero philosophy. It flips that script, arguing, that true richness isn't about the final number in your bank account.
It's more about the life you actually live, the experiences, the freedom you build along the way.
Exactly. Perkins has that great line, no one gets an award for having the most money in their grave. So our goal here is to explore how you can use money as a tool, really, to maximize living life to the fullest.
Okay. So first we'll unpack some, surprising research about money and happiness that might make you rethink things.
Definitely. And then we'll get practical how to actually fund a life that's rich in experiences. We'll talk memory dividends and even financial dividends.
Sounds good. Let's dive in. Where do we start with the happiness research? I feel like I've heard conflicting things.
You probably have. For a long time, the dominant idea came from Kahneman and Deaton back in 2010. They suggested happiness kind of plateaued around $75,000 a year.
Yeah, I remember that. The takeaway was basically earning more than that doesn't buy you much extra happiness.
Right. But then, more recently, in 2021, Matthew Killingsworth's research came out, and, pretty much blew that up. He found happiness just kept rising steadily, way past $200,000. No plateau in sight for most people.
Oh, okay. So which one is it? How do they sort that out?
This is the really cool part. They did what's called an adversarial collaboration. Basically, the researchers with opposing views teamed up to figure out what was really going on.
Okay.
And they found the truth is kind of nuanced, that $75,000 to $100,000 plateau. It seems it only really holds true for the, let's say, least happy 20% of people.
Only the bottom fifth. What about everyone else?
For the happier majority, the other 80%, happiness actually does keep rising with income. And for the very happiest folks, it seems to even accelerate once you get above $100,000.
Huh. So for most of us listening, more money can potentially mean more happiness. That does change the financial planning conversation quite a bit.
It really does. It suggests redirecting earnings strategically toward well-being isn't, pointless above a certain income. It can genuinely make a difference.
So if it's not just about buying more cars or bigger houses, what is money buying that links to happiness?
Great question. Research points strongly towards a feeling of control. A study from UPenn found that about 75% of the link between money and happiness wasn't about stuff, but about feeling you have more control over your life choices.
Control. That makes sense. Freedom, security.
Exactly. An Empower survey actually asked people what words they associate with financial happiness. Top answers: freedom, security, and relief. It wasn't about hitting some magic number, though the average was $1.2 million. Only 17% tied happiness directly to that specific number.
So it's more grounded, like paying bills without stress.
Precisely. Paying bills on time, being debt-free, these were huge. Having a decent work-life balance also ranked high. It's about those tangible improvements to your daily life and stress levels.
And planning helps get you there.
Massively. The same survey found 73% believe a solid financial plan would make them happier. And get this. People with a detailed plan were 3 times more likely to actually report feeling financially happy.
The plan itself provides some of that control and relief.
It's like a roadmap. It reduces uncertainty and helps you make intentional choices, which brings us back to Perkins and living intentionally.
Right, the memory dividends. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, this is a core idea in Die with Zero. Memory dividends are the returns you get from experiences. Unlike a stock that might go up or down, the joy, the stories, the personal growth from an experience, that tends to compound over your lifetime.
So a trip you take when you're 30 pays dividends and stories and memories for potentially decades.
Exactly, and that points to timing. Some experiences are just better suited for certain life stages when you have more energy, maybe fewer commitments. Think backpacking across Europe or taking a sabbatical.
Planning in terms of seasons, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
If you wait too long.
You might forfeit the opportunity, or at least the quality of that experience might diminish. There's a real incentive, Perkins argues, to invest in key experiences earlier rather than later.
Okay, but practically speaking, how do you fund these potentially expensive experiences without just draining your savings and, worrying about running out of money later?
That's where the idea of using financial dividends can be really interesting. So dividends, just quickly, are portions of a company's profits paid out to shareholders, usually every quarter.
And the key is you get this income without selling the underlying stock, right?
Precisely. You're essentially living off the fruit, the dividends, while keeping the tree, your investment principal, intact. This fits beautifully with the Die with Zero idea of funding life experiences.
Because it provides an income stream without forcing you to deplete your core savings. That could definitely reduce the fear factor.
It can. It offers a potentially sustainable way to fund travel, hobbies, or even giving money to loved ones earlier in life, while potentially still leaving a legacy if that's important to you.
So if you're interested in this, what should you look for? Just chase the highest dividend yield.
Probably not the best approach. Stability is generally more important than just a super high yield, which can sometimes be a red flag. Look for companies with a strong track record of paying and, ideally, increasing their dividends.
Like those dividend aristocrats.
Yeah, those are companies in the S&P 500 that have increased their dividends for at least 25 consecutive years. It suggests financial strength and commitment, but always, do your homework on the company's overall financial health and be aware of the tax implications of dividends.
So it shifts the mindset from spending down your savings to maybe living off the income your savings generate.
That's a great way to put it. It allows for enjoying life now, funded by your assets, without necessarily sacrificing future security or legacy goals.
Okay, let's recap this journey for everyone listening. Money isn't the enemy, but it's a tool.
Right. A tool to maximize life enjoyment. And for most people, happiness can continue to rise with income, largely because it provides that sense of control and freedom.
And that financial happiness often comes down to tangible things. Security, being debt-free, achieving milestones via a solid plan.
And crucially, don't forget those memory dividends. Invest in experiences, especially earlier when you can enjoy them most fully. Their value compounds over time.
So the encouragement for you, the listener, is really to be intentional. Don't just drift. Actively plan the life you want.
Yeah, figure out what truly brings you joy and purpose. Then think about how your financial plan can support that. Maybe dividend investing is part of the picture for funding those adventures or supporting causes you care about.
It comes back to that core message. There's no prize for being the richest person in the cemetery.
None at all. The real legacy is a life packed with meaning, purpose, and those moments that truly matter. Start crafting that masterpiece today.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.